Hi everyone. Let us continue our discussions on the multiple choice questions on the topic neural coordination and control. 50 questions we have solved. Let's take up the remaining questions quickly. Question number 51. Read the given statements and select the correct option. So what are the statements? Let's read out. Synaptic cleft of neurons secrete adrenaline. Myelinated nerve fibers are enveloped with Schwann cells which form a myelin sheath around the axon. Non-myelinated nerve fiber is enclosed by a Schwann cell that does not form a myelin sheath. The fourth one, spinal and cranial nerves are made of non-myelinated nerve fibers. If you look into these four statements, the first statement is wrong because the synaptic cleft do not secrete adrenaline. It is acetylcholine which comes there. And the fourth one, the spinal and cranial nerves are made up of non-myelinated given. That's also wrong. It is myelinated nerve fibers. So the correct options will be second and third. So let's go to the options. Statement second and third are correct and 1 and 4 are incorrect. So D will be the right option. Question number 52. Unidirectional transmission of a nerve impulse through nerve fiber is due to the fact that unidirectional, that is in one direction, the nerve impulse is moving. As we know, it always starts from the cyton and goes till the axon endings. So that is due to the fact. What is the fact? Four options are given. Nerve fiber is insulated by medullary sheath, that is nothing but the myelin sheath. Sodium pump starts operating only at the cyton and then continues into the nerve fiber. Then C, neurotransmitters are released by dendrites and not by axon endings. And the D, neurotransmitters are released by axon endings and not the dendrites. So out of these four, D will be the right option because we see that in the transmission of impulses across the synapse, the main role played by is the axon ending, because axon ending has got the acetylcholine containing vesicles. They release the acetylcholine into the synapse so that the nerve impulse is transmitted to the dendrites of the next neuron. Okay, so therefore neurotransmitters are released by the axon endings and not by the dendrite will be the right option here. Question number 53. Which of the following options correctly describes the sequence of structures present between a receptor and an effector when D refers dendrites, A refers axon, S refers synapse, and CB refers to the cell body. So the sequence of the structures between a receptor and an effector we have to make up. So four options are there. So from the receptor to the effector means it should start from the dendrites, then the cell body, then axon, then the synaptic cleft or synapse, and from there to the dendrite of the next neuron, and then cell body and axon. So A will be the right option. Now some questions on the central neural system. Question number 54. Brain depends on blood for the supply of A, ATP and glucose, B, oxygen and ATP, C, oxygen and glucose, D, oxygen and electrolytes. And we know that blood supplies oxygen and glucose, so C is the right answer. ATPs are generated within the cells, not found in the blood. Question number 55. The given figure shows lateral view of the human brain. Identify the parts labeled as A to E and select the correct option. So just look at the diagram. A is labeling at the frontal lobe. B, that is the corpus callosum. E, parietal lobe. D, medulla oblongata. And C, cerebellum. Let's see. So therefore the right option is the frontal lobe, corpus callosum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and parietal lobe. Let's go back and see once again. Yes, parietal lobe is the last E1, so that is correct. Now, let's go to the next question, 56. The correct sequence of meninges from inner to outer side is, from inner to outer side, what are the meninges? We know that the innermost is pia mater, then comes arachnoid, and then the uppermost is dura mater. C will be the right answer. Question number 57. What is the space between arachnoid and pia mater called as? Now you have to think about the three meninges. The top one is the dura mater, and then arachnoid, and then pia mater. So you have to find the space between arachnoid and pia mater. So that must be subarachnoid space. Sub means below. So B is the right answer. 58. The given figure shows a section of brain. Identify the parts labeled as A, B, C, and D and match them with the names 1 to 7 given below. So the names given 1 to 7 are arachnoid membrane, subdural space, dura mater, bone, white matter, gray matter, and pia matter. Now look at the diagram. A is the dura mater, B is the arachnoid layer, C is the pia mater, and D is the gray matter. Therefore, option C is the right answer. (59) Corpus callosum connects to what? Always remember, corpus callosum is binding or connecting the two cerebral hemispheres by the bundle of tufts of the transversely running nerve fibers. So A is the right option here, cerebral hemisphere. Question number 60. A touch on the right hand stimulates neurons in the. We know that our right side is controlled by the left brain, and left brain is, that's the right brain is controlling our left side. So here the question is, a touch on the right hand stimulates neurons in the left brain, definitely, and the hands are provided with the somatic sensory nerves, or the sensory nerves from the hand will go to the central nervous system through the peripheral nervous system or somatic nervous system. So therefore, A is the right answer, left somatic sensory area. Question number 61. Read the following 5 statements, 1 to 5, regarding left cerebral hemisphere. See here, left cerebral hemisphere is taken into account, and select the option that correctly states the true and false statements. So the statement 1, it receives most modalities of sensory information from the right side of the body. That is correct, because it's the left cerebral hemisphere. it is usually larger than the right cerebral hemisphere. That is not true. It is the dominant cerebral hemisphere in most individuals. That is true because most of the work we do with the right hand, then it is connected to the right cerebral hemisphere by the corpus callosum. So we are talking about the left cerebral hemisphere. Then it contains the main area for the understanding and production of speech in most of the individuals. So which is true and which is false? Let us see. The first one, is true, second is false, and remaining all are true. Because it is the dominant cerebral hemisphere and it is connected to the right cerebrum, and it contains areas of understanding and production of speech in most of the individuals. So C is the right answer. Then question number 62. The primary visual area is located in. Of course, you have studied the actual visual area is in the occipital lobe. B is the right answer. Question number 63. Which of the following structure is found in diencephalon? A. Pons, B. Basal ganglia, C. Corpora quadrigemina, and D. Hypothalamus. We know that pons, basal ganglia, corpora quadrigemina are different parts of the brain. Hypothalamus is the part of the diencephalon, so D is the right answer. Question number 64. The Broca's area and Wernicke's center are the association areas situated in cerebrum. These are associated with. The options are A. Breathing, B. Blind spot, C. Memory, D. None of these. As we know that these are connected with the speech and understanding of the speech, so those options are not given here. So none of these will be the right option. Question number 65. All sensory information to be registered consciously by the forebrain must pass via the. Now here, one thing you have to understand that there is a network of nerve fibers which pass on the sensory informations from all the 12 sensory nerves to the forebrain via, that's called as the reticular activating system, the network of the nerve fibers. So B is the right answer. Question number 66. Human body temperature is maintained by. So what is the structure in our brain which maintains our body temperature? Definitely it is hypothalamus. The thermoregulated center is located in the hypothalamus. Question number 67. Satiety centers of brain are present in. These centers which help us in understanding that we have taken food enough, we are satisfied with that, right? So that is what called as satiety center of brain, and of course it is located in the hypothalamus. In cases of like diabetes, where all other parts of the brain are taking up the glucose without the help of insulin, okay, but the satiety center in the hypothalamus that needs the help of insulin to function, to take up the glucose. to generate energy and carry out its functions. Now, in case of the diabetic patients, as the insulin secretion is less, highly decreased, or it is abnormal, so this center becomes inactivated or its activity stops. It may degenerate. So what happens is these people will not understand whether they have taken enough food. They go on eating a lot, and sometimes they may omit the excess one after the meals. So that's the fun here. That is because it is the center which is not, which is of course not able to take up the glucose by its own. It needs the help of insulin. It is the great gift of God that the other parts of the brain, most important parts of our brain, they have the ability to take up the glucose without the help of insulin. That's why the diabetes patients can do all other activities. They are good at memory. They are good at all the other functions related to brain. Okay. Otherwise, if it was like the insulin needed for the cells of the brain also to take up glucose and be active and survive, then definitely the diabetic patients might have died due to the death of the brain very soon. Question number 68. Which part of the human brain controls the urge for eating and drinking? Of course, eating and drinking, all these centers are located in the hypothalamus, and that comes under, that's a part of the diencephalon, and that comes under forebrain. So forebrain will be the right answer here. Question number 69. Broca's area in human brain controls speech, taste, respiration, heartbeat. We know that Broca's areas are meant for speech. So A is the right option. Question number 70. Sense of smell is perceived by. Okay, we know that the sense of smell we are perceiving through the olfactory lobes. Remember that? Olfactory lobes. So that are responsible for perception of the smell. We know the other regions, occipital lobe is for the identifying or analyzing the vision, and then temporal lobes for temporary memory and listening. Then parietal lobe again for permanent memory and permanent sensory centers as well as skills. Okay. Question number 71. Anterior choroid plexus is present on the. Now, this is something new for you. Choroid plexus are the network of blood capillaries which help in supplying the glucose and the oxygen to the parts of the brain. There are two choroid plexus. One is anterior choroid plexus, which is located in the roof of the diencephalon. Okay, and another one is the posterior choroid plexus, which is located in the roof of the medulla oblongata. Okay, so that's why here the right answer should be roof of diencephalon, C. Question number 72. Comprehension of spoken and written words take place in the region of. When we comprehend, we understand, we analyze what we are listening. The speech, for example, my speech, you are listening and understanding. So that is the Wernicke areas of your brain which are responsible. Okay. Then question number 73. Which function will be lost if occipital lobe is damaged? Definitely vision will be affected. Question number 74. Which of the following is a part of our brain? Which of the following is a part of our brain? Corpora allata, corpora adiposa, corpora cardiac, corpora quadrigemina. So D is the right option, corpora quadrigemina, which are the optic lobes in our brain, which are having 4 lobes. The 2 optic lobes further divided into 2 lobes in humans. So total 4 lobes are there in the midbrain, that is called as corpora quadrigemina. Okay. Corpora allata are the glands, thoracic glands in the insects. Corpora adiposa means the fat bodies. And corpora cardiac, cardiac refers to the heart. So body is connected with the heart. So D is the right option, corpora quadrigemina. Let us take up the next question, 75. The optic lobes in humans are represented by the corpora. Again, the related question to the earlier question. We know that optic lobes are represented by the quadrigemina. D is the right answer. Question number 76. Pons connects the. Now, pons is a set of or bundle of the nerve fibers which are connecting, rather thick patch of the nerve fibers which connects the 2 lobes of cerebellum. Okay, so B will be the right answer. Question number 77. Cerebellum of brain is concerned with A. Controlling rapid muscular activity. B. Learning in early stages. Learning in early stages means we learn to maintain our balance. For example, we learn to maintain the balance while we are cycling. We learn the cycling, isn't it? So there also we are learning how to maintain our balance and ride the bicycle without falling. Then maintaining posture, orientation, and equilibrium of our body. So all these are connected with the cerebellum. So D, all of these is the right answer. Question number 78. Tree of life is. It is the Latin word, the meaning of a Latin word, we can say. That Latin word is arbor vitae. So we know that inside the cerebral hemisphere, the white matter is seen in the form of highly branched tree-like structure. So that is why it is called as the arbor vitae or tree of life. So C is the right answer. You can have a look at that in this diagram. See, the white matter is branching all the way, see here, into the gray matter, forming many branches, tree-like. So therefore, it's called as tree of life. Question number 79. Match column 1 with column 2 and select the correct option from the codes given below. Column 1, A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, hypothalamus, D, midbrain. And the correct options which we have to connect with in column 2 are controls the pituitary, controls vision and hearing, controls the rate of heartbeat, seat of intelligence, maintains body posture. We know that cerebrum is seat of the intelligence, so A should be connected with 4, and cerebellum is responsible for our body posture, so B should be connected with 5, and then hypothalamus is the center which controls the pituitary. That is the releasing hormones come from the hypothalamus and stimulate the pituitary, so controls the pituitary. C should be 1, right? So we have seen the sequence should be 4, 5, 1, and midbrain. What is midbrain? consists of controls vision and hearing. Okay, so 4, 5, then 1 and 2. So that will be the right sequence. So therefore, the right option is 4, 5, 1, 2, that is D. Now let's take up the next question, question number 80. Which of the following statements is correct regarding cerebellum? Again, a question on the cerebellum. A, it's a part of hindbrain. That is true. It consists of two cerebellar hemispheres and a vermis. That's also true. C, arbor vitae is present in cerebellum. So all of these will be the right option here. Question number 81. The part of human hindbrain that is responsible for hand-eye coordination. Right? Hand-eye coordination. For example, when you are writing something on a page, you are holding the pen with your hand and you are writing and you are looking at what you are writing. And if you don't look at what you are writing, you may not be able to write in a proper way. So the coordination between your hand and your eyes is going on, or something you are looking at and writing down. For example, if you are watching my video and you want to note down some points while I'm explaining, so you'll be looking at the screen, you're understanding that discussion of a particular question, and if you want to note down something, you will be writing down in your notebook. So your hand and eyes are coordinated, and coordination between the different parts of the body is the function of course, cerebellum. A is the right answer. Then question number 82. The respiratory and cardiac centers are located in respiratory and cardiac centers, which control the respiratory rhythm and also the heartbeat. Of course, heartbeat is regulated, conducted by the specialized nodes of the muscle fibers called as the sinoatrial node, but the activity of sinoatrial node can be enhanced or decreased. So in the way heart rate can be increased or decreased by the help of the nerve coming from the medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata is the right answer here. Question number 83. Salivation in mammals is under the control of salivation, that is when we smell some very tasty food, or we look at very delicious food being kept in front of you, it usually end up with salivation in our mouth, and that is of course the function of medulla oblongata, because the nerve, cranial nerve arising from the medulla oblongata, that also supplies to the salivary gland. Now you can see here the cranial nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve is the eighth one, this one, okay, arising between the junction of pons and the medulla oblongata. Then that is cranial nerve number 8. Then cranial nerve number 12, hypoglossal, okay, arising from the medulla oblongata, that also innervates the tongue. Glossopharyngeal, 9th one, which supplies to the tongue, pharynx and salivary glands. Then vagus supplies to internal organs, mainly the lungs, heart and digest system, and then accessory, which helps in the shoulder and neck movements. Okay, now let us take up the next question. There is a direction for the next two questions here. Refer to the given diagram of human brain to answer the question number 84 and 85. Let's take up question number 84. Which labeled part controls the process of breathing? So just now we have seen that it is the medulla oblongata. So option C is the right answer. Then question number 85. Which of the following functions is performed by the part labeled C in the given figure? Again, related to the medulla oblongata. Regulation of body temperature, no, that is controlled by the hypothalamus. Then regulation of gastric secretion, of course, this is the function of the medulla oblongata because the vagus nerve arising from the medulla oblongata innervates the stomach and it controls the release of the gastric juice. B will be the right answer. Then question number 86, which of the following parts of brain constitute the brain stem? So brain stem is very, very important part of the brain, and that is made up of, always remember, the midbrain and hindbrain. Not all the parts of the hindbrain. Midbrain, then the medulla oblongata and bones. It will not include cerebellum. So here only the midbrain and hindbrain is given, so that we can choose as the right answer. Question number 87. Of course, before that, let's see where actually the brain stem is located. So from here to here, that is the brain stem. It is taken out here to show what it contains. So see the dotted lines from here it starts. Midbrain, here corpora corteggiamania. These are crus cerebri and pons, medulla oblongata. So cerebellum is not coming here. The thalamus also is not coming. That's a part of the diencephalon. So these are the areas which are taken as the brain stem. 10 out of the 12 cranial nerves arise from this part only, that is the brain stem. Very, very important. If any damage to brain stem happens, it may lead to death. A person may survive if the forebrain is damaged, still he will be surviving. He will not be having any movement, lying down, or maybe unconscious, but keeps breathing, keeps surviving. So that's the brain stem. It contains midbrain, corpora quadrigemania and crura cerebri, then pons veloli and medulla oblongata. Okay. Next question, question number 87. Cell bodies of neurons bringing afferent information into the spinal cord are located in. So we know that the cell bodies of the sensory nerves are also called as afferent nerves. So these cell bodies of these sensory nerves are located in the dorsal root ganglia. So A is the right option. Question number 88. Which of the following has H-shaped gray matter? You might be remembering that the spinal cord, when you take up a cross section of spinal cord, the gray matter appears like H. Right? The diagram, you recall the diagram where you study the reflex arc, right? So there you visualize that the central part of the spinal cord, a cross section, shows H-shaped gray matter. Question number 89. Now the questions on reflex action and reflex arc. What is the correct path of a reflex arc? So options are sensory stimulus, dendrite, and axon. A. B. Motor nerves, acetylcholine, adjuster neuron. That is wrong because sensory neuron, then adjuster neuron, then motor neuron it comes. So B is wrong. C. Efferent nerve, that is sensory nerve, connector nerve, and motor. Efferent nerves are not sensory. Make me a pardon. Efferent nerves are the nothing but the motor nerves only. Connected nerves and motor nerves. So here, motor nerves, connected and motor nerve. That is also wrong. Then afferent nerves, sensory. Then efferent nerve and connector nerve is given. So connector nerve should come in the middle. So that sequence is also wrong. So only the correct option is A. Sensory stimulus is passed on to the dendrite of the neuron and from there to the axon. Of course, this dendrite and axon is of the sensory neuron, and that will carry the information to the spinal cord, where the adjuster neuron or relay neuron will be there, and from the relay neuron, the action comes to the motor neuron to the effector organ. So here only the first three links are given, so correctly given, A is the right answer. Question number 90. For good reflex actions, we require intact what? Spinal cord, medulla oblongata, hypothalamus, cerebellum. As because most of the reflex actions are connected with spinal cord, so intact spinal cord is needed. A is the right option. Question number 91. The path of reflex arc is shown in the given figure. Identify the different labeling A, B, C, D, E, F and select the correct option. So look at the diagram. A is the stimulus, B will be the receptor cell, C is the afferent nerve or the sensory nerve, and D is motor nerve or efferent nerve, and E will be the effector organ, maybe a muscle or gland, and F should be the response. So remember that sequence. So which is the right option? Receptor, that is stimulus, then receptor, sensory nerve, then what should be there? Motor nerve, effector, and response. So B is the right answer. Okay. Question number 92. Which of the following is an example of conditional reflex? Now, conditional reflex is one where your brain is trained for that, and for that particular moment or for that particular stimulus, immediately we start responding, even sometimes without our consciousness. For example, you are sitting and doing some work, you're reading or some other work you are doing, you're sitting on a chair, and a very, very important song for you, which you like the most. You love that song, and the music of that song is, run by the tape recorder beside you automatically, or somebody has put it on. Okay, you are doing some work, you will continue doing that work, but automatically your legs will start showing the steps. Sometimes you may not be aware of what you are doing there. So that is, you have been practiced this one. You always do that. You dance at those steps. Like that, in animals, if you train the dog, for example, give a bell, and when the dog comes, give it a piece of bread and keep on doing this like this every day. So the dog's brain is trained so that whenever the bell rings, it's the time to get the food, and automatically saliva will be trickling down in the mouth, and that's how the conditional reflex we call. So trained dog salivates when you ring a bell. That will be the right answer. The other options, let us go through why they are wrong. Hand withdraws when pierced with a needle is the reflex action, where it is unconditional reflex action. It is very quick. Our brain centers are not involved, right, to protect our hand without our knowledge or before the information should reach, could reach the brain. We are taking out our hand from the harmful object. So, likewise, eyes closed when anything enters into them is also a reflex action, unconditional. And during digestion, food goes forward in alimentary canal, where the automatic peristaltic movement, we are not aware of it also. So those are all the normal reflex actions which you have studied, and conditional one is the D. The option is right. Then question number 93, which of the following is not a reflex action? Salivation, sweating, withdrawal of hands when pinched by needle, none of these. We see that sweating is not a reflex action. It's a response to the increasing temperature in the atmosphere. Okay, it is not controlled by a reflex arc. It is not a sudden reaction. So sweating is not a reflex action. The given diagrammatic representation of reflex action shows knee-jerk reflex. Identify the parts labeled as A to E and select the correct option. Now it is the right answer. So dorsal root ganglia, white matter, C gray matter, D efferent pathway, and E afferent pathway. So A is the dorsal root ganglia, B white matter of the spinal cord, C gray matter, D efferent pathway, that is motor neuron, and E afferent pathway, that is sensory neuron. Look at the diagram once again. Okay, yes. A dorsal root ganglia, B the white matter, C gray matter, H-shaped, and then D the nerves arising from the spinal cord and going to the muscle. So the efferent or the motor neurons, and E, that is efferent or motor neuron, is D, and E afferent or sensory neuron. Okay. Now let's take up the next question. Question on sensory reception and processing. Question number 95. Olfactory receptors are present in olfactory, that is sense of smelling. So nose is the right answer, B. Question number 96. Taste buds contain gustatory receptor is the right answer. Olfactory for smelling. Photoreceptors are the rods and cones in the retina for vision purpose. Phonoreceptors are the receptors of the sound in the ear. Question number 97. refer to the given diagram, match the labeled parts A to J with their functions and select the correct options. So here the labelings, if you look at, A is pointing at the aqueous humor, B to the cornea, C to the ciliary body, D to the iris, E fovea, F blind spot, G, that is the optic nerve, okay, and H, the choroid layer, I is the sclerotic layer, sclera, and J is the retina. Let's look at the options. Of course, statements are given regarding that function. Carries nerve signals to the brain. So what carries the nerve signals to the brain? It should be the optic nerve G. So starting with the G, so D is the right option. Question number 98. Match column 1 with column 2 and select the correct option from the codes given below. Column 1, A cornea, B iris, C lens, D optic nerves, E pupil, F ciliary muscles, and G fovea. And respective functions are given that provides opening for light to enter. So which will provide the opening to light, opening for the light to enter, pupil. So E should be connected with 1, and then transduce blue, green, and red light. Transduce means change these blue, green, and red lights into the electric signals. So that is taking place in the fovea, let's see, then controls the amount of light that enters. Iris will be controlling the amount of light entering in the eye. Alters the shape of lens. Shape of lens will be altered by the ciliary muscles, F. Then transmit information to central nervous system, that is optic nerve. Okay. And then focus light directly on the retina, that's the function of the lens. See, then bends light and protects inner eye. Bends the light and protects the inner eye, that is the function of cornea. Let's take up these. Yes, here look at the stars of same color matching with the respective functions. Yes. Is that clear? Okay. Now let us go to the options. A will be the right option. 7, 3, 6, 5, 1, 4, and 2. Question number 99. Cornea transplant in humans is almost never rejected. This is because for rejection, always remember the tissue, grafted tissue should come in contact with the T lymphocytes, T cells, okay, so which are found in the blood. Now, cornea is a region where there is no blood supply. It is a avascular region. So therefore, it has no blood supply. D will be the right option. Question number 100. Cornea is covered externally by a thin transparent membrane which is called. So thin transparent membrane of the cornea is known as conjunctiva. So that's all. 100 questions we have completed. Remaining questions we'll take up in our next